Hello, everybody. Jazari and Tommy here doing a coverage of the 2025. Actually, happy MLK Day to everybody.
Yeah, that's really important to
Happy
mention.
MLK Day. Yes, 2025. And what also just happens to be happening today is the inauguration of Donald Trump, who's returning to the White House as the 47th President of the United States of this America.
Yep.
So we are going to kind of just play some clips, kind of offer some commentary, go through it, walk through the events for, as long as we can. I mean, it's an all day thing. Like they started hours ago and they're going to go up until like late tonight. They also have the inaugural ball, which I think is just a private event at the White House. But
There's actually several balls tonight. These things are just basically triumphs,
mhm,
in the original sense, the original Roman sense. It's just a huge celebration.
yeah, it's
So
like a whole like coronation, I guess.
essentially, that's what it could be compared to, I suppose. I'm thinking about past inaugurations, and some of them were small and modest, but in recent history they've become these huge celebrations. And it is a celebration. It's a peaceful transfer of power, which is very important. I'm thinking about how we didn't get that 4 years ago, but it's a bit bittersweet. I appreciate that we're coming back to this, try to restore some trust in the
Hmm.
process. um it's a it's legitimization of the incoming administration. And it
Yeah,
reaffirms one of the most important things that we have as Americans, the fact that we can have these transfer powers without conflict. You know what I mean? It's the pen in the ballot box instead of the sword and the bullet. It's
yeah.
very important. And even if your candidate didn't win in November, it's very important that we return back to this norm, no matter
And
how
I
it's
think the
going.
most fascinating thing is like all the peaceful transfer was initiated by George Washington, right? He was the first president to step down after 8 years, and he was the first president of the United States. And there didn't need to be term limits until that
Hmm.
one super popular president got elected three
FDR.
times. Yeah, FDR. And that's when they're like, oh, let's put the brakes on this. But that's actually remarkable that it stood that long before him. Like
Yeah.
because it
It's just,
wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't in the Constitution. It was kind of just it
It
was
was
just a
a
set.
it was a very long running precedent. And he was very smart, Washington, when he left after his second term because he didn't want to die in office and set this precedent of this is a lifetime thing. you know
Yeah.
is a man who gave up power. And it's just like the story of Cincinnatus, who was a Roman general during the time of the emergency of the Roman Republic. The Senate made him a dictator. That dictator used to be in office, right? In its original form. They made this guy a dictator. He had absolute power for at least 6 months, and he went and fought a war. He won the war. He saved the republic, and then he resigned his office and went back to farming. Very, very much like George Washington. He's, I guess, our version of Cincinnatus. I don't know if you
Real quick, shout out in the chat to Chandler. Thank you so much for tuning in while we cover this event. Uh, we went to middle and high school together, so it's so cool to see some familiar faces in the chat. Um, there was something else I wanted to add about that. Yeah, and I guess the presidency wasn't even like, from what I gathered, it wasn't like a thing to where people aspired for. It was kind of more of just like a responsibility.
hmm
Like kind of like, okay, like I've carried this responsibility for years. Next person, like I could be wrong about that, but
It wasn't originally seen as this office of prominence.
yeah.
And in fact, Washington hated being president, from what we could tell. He was basically drafted, you know, um, and he saw it as a responsibility, and many of them did. Um, I
Mhm.
don't know when it became like this big kind of celebrity prominent thing to aspire to, but originally, no, it wasn't seen as this big deal.
Yeah, and like being the president is fun and all, but is it really that fun and all? I remember talking to some people. They're just like, you could not. Secret Service agents. They're like, you could not pay me to be the president because you're essentially a prisoner.
Yeah. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, you know?
I mean, you don't even hold your own umbrella, which that might me seem nice, but I remember Michelle Obama talking about when they passed some legislation and they lit up the White House in the rainbow color, and her and her daughter wanted to go outside to see it, and they were like locked in the White House, like they couldn't get out, and like the agents were kind of like right like by them because they were like walking, and she talked about this during her book tour, and she was like, we were gonna sneak out like one door, and they're all around, right? Like they're watching you, everything you do. So they're kind of just like slowly behind her, and then she goes up to the door, and the door is locked, and they were just like, "Can you open the door?" And they're like, "No, like you can't leave the building right now."
You know,
Oh,
when you become the nominee for one of the two major parties, that's when the Secret Service comes in and they basically take over, you know, everything as far as security.
mm-hmm.
And this is a fact. Barack Obama will never be able to drive his own car on public streets ever again. Same thing for Joe Biden. Same thing for Trump. Like they
Yeah,
don't even have that freedom. And Joe Biden famously has this like this light blue Stingray Corvette, I think it is, and he still likes to drive it. So they uh they will like close off an airstrip for him so he can just do like laps, you know? When Michelle Obama was famously on Carpool
Kaviana.
Karaoke with Missy Elliott and James Corden, they just had to drive in a circle on like the White House that had this just little
Yeah,
track just in circles. And it was just like it's mind-boggling, you know. They can deny it though. They can say no, we want to do our own private security, but the only
not
time you're
while you're
alone.
president. Only after you leave office.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's yeah. Sorry.
Only after you leave office you can give it up. But like maybe, I mean, how safe is that? You know what I mean? And like, I mean, it's free security.
Yeah.
All right, what do
Um.
you got?
Well, I mean, I think we should start off a little unorthodox here. It is MLK Day, so I think we should kind of highlight some of the history behind MLK Day. MLK Day is the first federal holiday recognizing an individual. It's pretty a big historical event that we did this. Um, the idea first started after his assassination, and I think that yeah. So he was assassinated in 1968, and it began to be observed in 1986, signed into law by President Ronald Reagan. Um, we don't really talk about this, but some states resisted, like they didn't want to celebrate this day. Famously, Arizona and New Hampshire didn't recognize it. There's several states in the South. They made this Robert E. Lee Day to celebrate Robert E. Lee, a Civil War general who famously said he doesn't want statues and he doesn't want to be remembered for his time in the Civil War, but they did it anyways. Um,
I didn't know that.
South Carolina was the last state to make MLK Day a paid state holiday, doing so in 2000. Um, Yeah, it's a Uniform Monday Holiday Act that will always be on the third Monday of January, near Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday of January 15th. So, yeah, I mean, it is a historic day. I do think about what it would have been like, what the optics would have looked like if, you know, we were inaugurating our first female black president. But, you know, you don't always get what you want. You know, as
I
nice as
know that would have been so. That would have been insane.
it would have been some symbolism, but I mean, there's symbolism in today too. America made a decision, you know. But I mean, if you're disappointed, and I'll be admitted, I'm disappointed. You should still find some solace in the fact that we are having a peaceful transfer of power, because I was worried about how skeptical people were getting in the system and how fair elections were.
Hmm.
And man, if you a good portion of the population loses faith in the election process, we're going back to bullet and the sword, man. You don't want to. At least I don't want to go there. So,
Not
here's
bullet
another
with a
fun fact.
sword.
I know. International recognition. MLK Day is observed outside of the US in countries like Canada, Japan, and Netherlands, honoring King's global impact on civil rights. And that is very true. Like he was inspired by the civil disobedience movements that were anti-colonialism, and he saw that not only were these movements successful, especially like in a country like in India, where they got rid of British colonialism, 300 million people, gained their own country. He saw that it was so successful, nobody really fired any bullets, and I mean that's a pretty good strategy because you remember, like the leader of your movement is not a strong man, military mind. You're not destroying infrastructure, and it sets your country up for a good future. And I think Martin Luther King was a huge fan of the peaceful civil disobedience that was like successful in overthrowing colonial governments or colonial hegemon. But yeah, I mean, I know it's going to be overshadowed by the inauguration, but try to read up a little bit on MLK Day, y'all. He has a really great book. It's one of my favorite books called Why We Can't Wait. Really details the Birmingham campaign and other things. It's a pretty short read. It's pretty good read. Pretty interesting. So um, go ahead and look that up. There's an audiobook. It's a pretty quick listen to if you don't like books. It's very difficult for me to read books these days. Attention span.
For sure. Awesome background on MLK Day and all of that. Why would they have it on the same day? It's just how it's just how things fell together. I mean, that's just kind of how
Yeah.
the cards fell in place.
I
So
believe the inauguration is always January 20th, and that
yeah,
because MLK Day is a fixed holiday, sometimes it's not intentional.
and this inauguration feels like a funeral. Come on, let's actually. Okay, so I was thinking about doing this. Somebody mentioned because we're live in several different places, people can't see the other comments from those other places.
Yeah,
Um,
live chat, right?
yeah, so what I'm thinking of is maybe just overlaying the chat here.
Yeah, I mean that's great for a makeshift,
Yeah.
but we are gonna of course overlay the video here in a little bit. We can
Well,
go
we
through
could
the
still have
schedule.
this. We could still have this chat up. Is what I'm saying.
Okay,
So, all right. Let's get into it. Let's see how this looks. I did not do any preparation for this. I am sorry. I kind of had something going on
it's
last
a
night.
this is really gonna be a long form thing, and I think that it's I mean, C-SPAN and PBS News and all that, they're pretty much winging it. Nobody has it's like a 3 or 4 hour broadcast. Anyways, so there's a whole schedule for the inauguration, and it starts off by attending church at St. John's Episcopal Church in Lafayette Square. You might remember Lafayette Square when, you know,
Oh.
infamously, some protesters were basically like tear gassed out of protesting there. But
Mm-hmm.
so it starts off, the vice president, the both of the vice presidents are there. The president, they just attend a service. I forget who runs the service, but but C-SPAN does a good job. They let everybody kind of
Whoa! Look at Usha Vance. Ha!
dude, I mean, the threads I've seen at inaugurations are pretty good. But anyways, I'm gonna kind of just show some clips of what the main schedule is. But yeah, I mean, the whole just to give you a blow by blow, they do this church service early in the morning. Then the president and vice presidents they kind of do a tea service at the White House. The swearing in ceremony is scheduled to start in about 30 minutes, so I'll kind of just try to speed us up on the events that kind of took place. Okay, so this is Donald Trump arriving to the St. John's.
I will say that is the second time that I've seen JD Vance since the election.
That is, yeah, same here. I saw a picture of him arriving in DC, and his wife and him just did not look happy. But you capture a picture, it's not always accurate. But this is President Donald Trump, president elect. I mean, I think you just refer to him as president because that's still his highest rank, I guess you could say. But the president arriving to St. John's, you have the Secret Service around him. later today, he will be parading through the streets. I believe that's still the plan. If anybody doesn't know, they're not going to have an inauguration outside this time because it's very, very cold. Oh, there's the trademark Trump fist pump. Anyways, so yeah, they attend this. Oh, Melania's got some makeup too. Look at
Whoa,
that.
sister girl, why are you dressed like that? That does
I
look
mean,
like she's wearing Chanel, but oh,
if we can't agree on anything, we got to agree on like. I think it's the women who always bring the heat because the men are always just in bland suits. You know what I mean?
the
But
but that's not a. I'm sorry, it
I
doesn't look
just like it.
good.
You
You
don't
like
think
her
that
out?
looks good? Yeah, man, it's sharp, dude. I think it's sharp. But then again, I don't know anything about
It
fashion.
doesn't look.
I'm
It does. I mean, it doesn't look celebratory. Some
well, you know.
Mercedes said this inauguration feels like a funeral. I feel like that's what.
Sorry, I'm gonna just fast forward us here to the. We're gonna try to catch us up. C-SPAN was taking all number of calls today, and I was listening to him because I've been watching for several hours now. Let's see if we can get there.
The Bernie meme.
Yeah, I just saw that. Should we try to
No,
include
you're
that?
good.
I don't know where it is.
We've seen it 1,000 times. I
This
mean,
is a famous moment in inauguration. If people don't remember, the inauguration was 4 years ago. Was still in the pandemic, and they were observing, safe distancing, mask wearing, and stuff. And this became like a Bernie meme. I actually have a bobblehead of that. It was pretty funny. So,
yes,
anyways, there's.
he did not put effort into that that day.
I mean, he's kind of one of those people. Like one of my favorite photos of him. He was like watching a primary election returns at his own residence, and there's in the corner there's this like chair with his junk chair. Like everybody has this in the house. Our table, it kind of fluctuates between us. Our table is where we put all our junk, and then we try to fluctuate around. We have a shelf. He had like this famous junk chair, and it's like, oh my god, he is so normal. So yeah, but sometimes that was his Achilles heel. So, anyways, this is the look outside of St. John's this morning.
Same
About
architecture as the White House.
yeah,
Esque.
it was about 2 hours ago. This and they attend a service. I forget who runs the service, and I just don't remember how any of that works. But anyways, we're gonna speed up here in a little bit. So I forget. Okay, this might be Trump arriving.
Yeah, I mean, who else would they be
Yeah,
waiting outside like that for? It's cold.
right, right.
I mean, he doesn't even have a jacket. I mean, he has a jacket on, but he doesn't have like, like you saw with Trump wearing. Trump was wearing a suit, but he was also wearing a um kind of a heavier jacket over that.
I kind of want to take a moment here to say this is pretty bittersweet. Oh, this is Harris. Yeah, Harris and
Mm.
Doug Menhoff.
Oh, okay.
People call him the second gentleman. I'd like to argue that he is the first gentleman, but that's a
He's the
argument for the
first.
next time.
He's the first second gentleman.
Well, no, I think it's like one of those things where it's just like, who is the first gentleman if he's the second gentleman? Like, it doesn't imply that he's the first. There is a first gentleman,
If there,
right?
like, if the president is a female, that would be her husband.
Sorry, it's a long rant, but
You
yeah.
you do
So
well. I mean, like the vice president's wife has always been referred to as a second lady.
no, I know because there's always been a first lady, right? It's a fun. I don't even. I'm not even 100% serious about it, but not right now. But uh, as yeah, we're gonna try to catch up, Mercedes. Don't worry. But
Dang,
um,
everybody pulled up wearing black. Besides Usha Vance and
so I
Dr.
believe
Jill
this
Biden.
is Trump is gonna be leaving.
Yeah, just skip to. Is that the Big Red Singers?
Oh no, they should be coming up soon. Yeah, I remember that was kind of okay. So this is the vice president and Doug. I'm just gonna call him Doug.
I'm guessing they're
Um,
waiting for.
for Vance
They don't call him
and
Doug.
or I don't know his. I don't Menioff.
M.
First
Hoff.
gentleman? Emhoff, okay.
Second gentleman M. Hoff or Mr. M. Hoff. Put some respect on that name.
Okay, fine, fine, fine. I'm sorry. But I mean, this is a little bittersweet. I'm glad we're returning back to norms. I hope that we can try to get people to be faithful in the system again.
And I highly doubt this norm is going to happen another 4 years from now.
Well, it depends on who the Oh yeah, I mean, if with Vance is, I guess he's the front runner to be president, but
That is such a wild, like, boom, like you go from you were a US senator. That was the only elected office he held for 2
2
years,
years.
and then
Yeah.
catapulted to the vice president. Okay, so I don't want to be a hater, right? Usha Vance looks stellar. That outfit is fire. I mean, she looks really good. Uh her hair is done, her makeup is. I was watching that video that I told you guys about. It said, "Why do Republican women look like that?" And in that video, that girl analyzed like how Usha Vance looks just like herself.
Yeah.
But over
Okay.
time, we're gonna start see her becoming more and more beautified to
Yeah.
smile,
I d
JD. Like at least like smile.
I think he is smiling.
What is
I
up
mean,
with
it's
this
like,
meme mug? This like
do you know about the awkward white people smile, right? Where it's like, it's not
I don't
really a
know
smile,
nothing about that. I
it's
don't
like
know
a,
nothing about
it's like a sorry. I'm
that.
white, I can say that. Hey, shout out to the Marines. I always thought people in a Marine uniform always look great, you know?
Yeah, me too. I think those I've always liked the Marine.
Iconic, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so this is the vice president, you know, with the vice president elect. They're gonna have tea, and so are the president, first lady, and Trump and Melania, President Trump
What
and
do they
Melania.
talk about? Like
I have
that
no idea.
oh my gosh, like imagine sitting across from the table
Okay, so to
like sipping
highlight
your
a
tea
little,
looking at this person because it's like this was not a clean election. You know what I'm saying? Like this was not like the campaign trail was not upbeat. There go them big red singers.
I mean, it hasn't been upbeat for a long time, but yeah, so this was a bit controversial for them to
Right.
attend and participate in this. Like,
Play
I
it,
have mixed feelings about it, but
put
go
the
ahead.
sound on. Put the sound on. I want to hear what they're singing.
Okay.
Side
Oh, they're not.
Never mind.
is on
I
the
was,
west
I
face
think
of the Capitol, and but usually to
PBS had it
very
on.
gay.
Take my word for it. Oh, here we go. What do you think about the scarves? You like them?
I don't know. I could be tripping, but I feel like someone was off key.
There's
Like, wait.
so my wife was watching, and she
She said
said
something
that
right.
she said that some there was a girl's mic who was just overpowered compared to everybody else,
Okay.
and she like knows some of these people because some of these people are in her church choir. But yeah, so if you go look at Megan Hunt's Twitter, she was actually talking about how some people refused to participate, some people that were in the UNL choir.
Really?
I have some mixed feelings. It's like, you know, during the campaign, you know, you had Democrats were talking about how this guy is a fascist, he's gonna be a dictator on day one, and all this
Right.
other stuff. And then as soon as it was over, you know, it's like, hey, come into the White House. I'm totally gonna participate in this ceremony. I'm thinking there's only two conclusions here. Either they didn't believe it and it was all just you know,
Okay.
showmanship.
Yeah, I
All
was
right. I'll,
tripping. That mic was definitely overpowered.
yeah.
But
Okay. So sorry. Fast forwarded it. So anyways, this is the presidential motorcade coming onto the White House, and sorry folks, we're just trying to catch up.
I think that's where the press is going to be later, like in that parade part maybe.
Okay, here it is. So yeah, I mean, this is a tradition that has been running for a very long time. It was famously, Trump did not participate in it, and he claimed that the election was stolen. I mean, I think he still believes that. Like, he was claiming it right up into this last election. Well, I don't know if he believes it or it's just part of the show, but yeah. So they're President Biden receives the President Trump and his wife, and they go in and they do tea just like the vice president.
I don't get like what do they talk about during this tea? Like, or do they even talk?
I don't think that they have media in the room. I
want to
but, you know,
what that conversation's like. Melania Trump looks like she's just not happy to be there. From what I gathered, she did not enjoy her time in the White House.
well, just to add a little context, she is from Eastern Europe, for people who get what I'm trying to say. You know, Eastern Europeans, they're cut from steel, man. You know, it's not normal to be like a cheery Eastern European person, if you know what I'm talking about.
Right, but I mean, like, at least like, look, like, she has her hat so low. Like, Jill Biden looks great. Biden's
Yeah.
jacket, that for I don't know why Calvin Klein is coming to me. I feel like that's what that jacket is, but
I don't know anything. My sense of fashion is flannel shirt, khaki jeans. So that
but
gave it away, y'all. You'll be seeing that. Look, I'm wearing a flannel shirt right now. But anyways,
but
they go in and have tea. I don't think it's recorded, but I think it would be similar to right after the election when Biden invited Trump to the White House, and they kind of had a very cordial interaction, to be honest. But
yeah.
so anyways,
Oh, is
like we
that?
mentioned,
Oh, that looked
like we
like that
men-
was Jeff Zeleny. Huh.
like we mentioned, the inauguration is not going to be outside because it's too cold, so they're going to have it within the Capitol Rotunda. From
Yeah.
what I understand, there was like 200,000 tickets were sold. At least that's what was claimed.
They
To the
sell
inauguration.
tickets for that?
Yeah, but they don't. I don't think they charge. I think they just for planning purposes they sell those. But from what I understand, there was like 200,000 that were given away. I've seen a lot of social media posts where
You were one
Trump
of those
support.
people.
What?
I say you were one of those people,
It did
considering
what?
that was planning on going if it went the other way.
A lot of my friends told me not to do that if it went the other way because like it might not have been so peaceful that day, but we will never know. And in many ways it's good. But yeah, they're going to be in the Capitol Rotunda. It's going to be a lot of important people, I guess,
I'm
but yeah,
guessing Rogan, Zuckerberg, those kind of people are going to be there.
like I said, important people. Oh, here was a kind of an interesting event. Like all the former speakers of the House, at least the Republican ones, from what I can tell, like showed up here together.
Who is that in that red? Paul Ryan, was he there?
I did not recall seeing him. Oh, that's McConnell's wife who just kissed Boehner on the cheek there. She's yeah. She was Trump's first transportation secretary. And then we have some more people showing up. Oh, Vivek Ramaswamy is leaving Doge, people.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's going to be running for Ohio governor for 2026, I believe it is. He's going to be one vulnerable candidate. Like
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Nobody can recreate Trump. Like I've just, you've seen a lot of Trump-like candidates, and none of them can kind of bring it home like he can. It's wild. I have no idea to explain.
Dude has charisma. I mean, Trump knows how to work a crowd.
And remember,
I mean,
charisma is not necessarily a positive thing, but it's true.
Oh,
I'm thinking about
we have a typo.
What's the typo?
Oh my gosh.
What?
Sorry,
is it our typo?
Yes. This stream will produce liver coverage.
Okay.
Tommy.
Dude, okay.
It's all good.
Some of us are going to be drinking soon. It's only
fine.
an hour and 15 minutes.
It's fine. I updated. It's fine. Sorry, guys. Oh, we said liver coverage. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I think this is here where today I will attend the inauguration of President Vivek, Susie Williams chatting near podium. There's Mike Pence.
What did he say?
He famously said that like he can't support Donald Trump because Donald Trump wanted to usurp the Constitution. But hey, we're all falling in line. We're all kissing the ring. I mean, Snoop Dogg is performing. Famously, 8 years ago, he did this video where he was like chiding anyone who was going to perform at Donald Trump's inauguration.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg. Oh my gosh, our nation's mascot.
So here it is. Ramaswamy will leave Doge. He will be expected to kick off his gubernatorial bid in Ohio. That's going to be a huge departure from current Governor DeWine. DeWine has like pretty good bipartisan popularity. Honestly, I think he's going to do the same thing that what's her name, Carrie Lake. And there's also Dr. Oz. They all tried recreating Trump, and nobody can get it right. You know what I mean? I think it's going to go that way, but predicting the future.
I mean, Trump has that. I mean, he has that Hollywood charm. Like he knows how to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, and we don't take him seriously, but like a lot of people do. and he knows how to cater to the masses. You
Who
know,
is
people.
that?
No idea.
Some of these people, I'm just like,
Who are these people?
probably
We know
kids.
who that is.
MTG. Man, when they were certifying the election, Nancy Mason, all of them were just like, we're not going to let them steal this election. And we're like, ma'am.
Marco
You know?
Rubio, incoming Secretary of State. He had a there's RFK Jr.
Mm-hmm. Where's Tulsi
But
Gabbard?
Where? I don't see her.
No, I'm asking, like, where is she?
Oh, there he is. Elon Musk, $300 million. $300 million to Trump's presidency. I would assume you would be in the room.
Pete
Hegseth.
Hegseth.
He's there.
McMahon, WWE lady.
Oh, Linda McMahon.
Yeah,
She's actually ran state departments, and she or a state department in Connecticut, I believe, and she actually ran an agency during Trump's. Like she's not like a lot of the other ones.
Is this live now?
No, not yet. We
okay,
are.
Just skip to the live. Oh, Mark Zuckerberg! I told you.
There he is.
Right there with.
What? Okay, no, somebody's singing. I know Carrie Underwood is singing here, and people. Okay, so why is Amy Klobuchar giving it? So she is actually kind of the MC. She was the head person.
Let's hear what she has to say. Oh, Deb Fisher right there. Hillary Clinton. Wow.
And of course, the Trump and Vance families. This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy.
Sorry, I'm trying to turn subtitles on.
When leaders elevated
One sec.
How does Amy Klobuchar get these gigs?
I'll tell you in a minute.
To cherish and defend it. It is the moment.
I don't know how to turn.
We all should be the guardians of our country.
CC, right there.
I have it on, but it says to go to settings for some reason.
This inauguration every 4 years, and today it falls on Martin Luther King Day. A further reminder.
Let me turn it up.
We must strive to uphold the values
I can hear it all right.
Constitution, the freedoms, the liberties, and
there's the Supreme Court justices.
On the entrance of the United States Supreme Court, equal justice under law.
So just briefly, the reason why she is kind of taking the lead on this is because they select somebody to plan the inauguration, and she was the one who's, I guess, the chair of the inaugural committee. So I mean, she was actually involved. She actually she was there in the White House when Trump was received. So yeah, she that's why she's there, and that's why she's leading this. But I remember when she announced her bid for president, she was in the snow, and the snow was building up in her hair as she was giving a speech. But they make them differently in Minnesota.
Of responsibility. With that responsibility of citizenship comes an obligation not to seek out malice, as President Lincoln once reminded us, but to view others with a generosity of spirit despite our differences.
Be right back.
With that responsibility of leadership comes an obligation to stand our ground when we must and find common ground when we can. With everything swirling around us, the hot mess of division, it is on all of us, to quote an incredible songwriter who just happened to be born in my state, to ensure that our
let us know in your thoughts in the comments what you're thinking about this. Trump, JD Vance is going to take the oath of office first, and then Donald Trump will.
In other countries, it might
but
be in a presidential
it's very interesting. Like it feels very.
Here it is traditionally held at the Capitol.
It feels very.
It is a fitting reminder.
The vibe. I'm used to seeing them outside. Like this is the second time that this has happened before. So like usually, you see lots of crowds, lots of people, lots of fanfare, cheering, crowds panning. But the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol is huge. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at that.
Grounded in the rule of law has endured. So,
great camera work. Smooth.
Let us remember.
Hey, maybe it's a drone. No. Oh, I think that's Robert E. Lee back there. No, they don't have Robert E. Lee. Might have been Grant.
The teachers and healthcare workers who nurture us, the troops defending our freedoms, and yes,
Oh, look at Barron Trump, man.
Where?
He's right behind Donald Trump next to
Dang.
Melania. He has changed. I remember when Trump first won and he was this young kid, but he looks just like Donald Trump, like more so than any of his other kids. You know?
I don't. Well,
You don't see it? Look at a young Donald Trump. Look at a picture of a young Donald Trump. He's a spitting image, dude.
Our nation. Thank you.
and he's like 6'5". He's like really tall.
He's so tall. It's got to be that East European, man. So I don't recall any inauguration that took place indoors. Probably
Wasn't there
Washington.
only one time? Other one.
No, let's see.
Tab Fisher. Is she on the committee too?
Probably.
Are those members of the committee also kind of like count the count the electoral votes on January 6th?
No, I think they're different committees. I mean, you might have had overlap in personnel, but
It was both of them. It was the two of them.
oh, Klobuchar and Fisher were there.
Yeah,
I didn't even watch.
They wrote it to guide us.
She never put out a statement about what her husband did, she?
No, and I just think people should just let that go. I don't think it's that big a deal.
But as much as the truths and principles enshrined in our Constitution,
William Howard Taft, 1909, inauguration in the Senate chambers. Ronald Reagan's second inauguration was relocated into the Capitol Rotunda due to extremely cold temperatures. So this has happened before.
Who was the first one you mentioned?
William Howard Taft. Those are, I think those are the only.
The endurance, the permanence of a nation through change.
Because there was a snowstorm for Taft in 1909.
Like our United States,
there's a few other instances too.
Yo, Trump looks.
And to seize the opportunities God has placed before us.
Oh yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson. He famously took his oath aboard Air Force One with Jackie Kennedy right behind him.
Yeah.
And if you look at the picture, you can still see JFK's blood on her dress. And she wrote later that she did that intentionally because she wanted people to see that somebody killed her husband, you know.
Yeah.
She could have changed out of that, but she famously kept it on.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah, so there's been several ceremonies that have been moved indoor because of weather. You know, I saw Democrats trying to like dunk on him. I saw the state party chair did a tweet on it, and just let it come on. No, these aren't wins. We're not dunking here, you know. Anyways,
envisioned for all of us. And today, we celebrate not only their decision to do so, but also the simple right and wisdom of a free people to make.
Do you know who William Henry Harrison is?
So that their nation might endure.
He's one of the presidents.
And now,
this is probably one of the most famous pieces of history when it comes to inaugurations. In 1841, he was elected president, and he gave still the longest record speech in inauguration history. But the weather wasn't good that day. He got pneumonia and died a month later.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, probably the most famous one.
Is this what the
supreme among the nations, supreme on the earth?
Archbishop of New York.
Remembering General George Washington on his knees at Valley Forge, recalling Abraham Lincoln at his second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Remembering General George Patton's instructions to his soldiers as they began the Battle of the Bulge 8 decades ago: pray. Pray when fighting, pray alone, pray with others, pray by night, pray by day. Observing the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King, who warned, without God, our efforts turn to ashes. We, blessed citizens of this one nation under God, humbled by our claim that in God we trust, gather indeed this inauguration day to pray for our President Donald J. Trump, his family, his advisors, his cabinet, his aspirations, his vice president.
Looking at the Capitol Rotunda, I'm just thinking about January 6th, all those years ago.
4 years ago?
It feels like a lifetime, Jazari.
It doesn't. It feels like it was last week. But no, I want to ask you, the carving around like the rim, kind of where the dome starts to concave,
Yeah.
is that like marble like carved in?
I'm not entirely sure, you know.
That
I know
looks
there's like a famous mural like with George Washington depicted as a Greek god at the top of the rotunda. Yeah, like you
No,
see
I mean
that
like
picture.
it looked like it was like a 2 foot section, like a rim that was like
Oh,
a bunch of like intricate like stuff. So I didn't know if that was a painting or if that was like an actual like carving. It looked
I have
cool.
no idea. So yeah, the inauguration schedule is quite extensive. So they're about to do the swearing in ceremony. If everything went according to plan, Vance was sworn in about half an hour ago. There will
Was he
be a
put it
there-
live? I'm telling you, put it live.
it is
Are we
live.
not live? Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is live.
Oh, okay.
I think
Because
there might be like one.
you said he
Go
would have
ahead.
been sworn in a half hour ago.
No, Vance. Vance was sworn in a half hour ago. JD Vance, the vice president.
He
Oh,
was
here.
sworn in already?
Yeah.
President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory.
I'm guessing this is like a famous
Let us
minister.
pray.
Probably.
Our Father and our God, thou hast said.
So
Kamala Harris's outfit is kinda
after the swearing in ceremony, President Biden will perform a departure ceremony. I think he gets on Marine One, the helicopter, and he flies to like a hangar where he gives a bit of a speech, and then that's it for him. And then we should be going into the president's signing room ceremony. I don't know why they call it a ceremony because it is
Kevin
very,
McCarthy.
yeah. So, anyways, the president's signing room ceremony is, I don't know why they call it a ceremony, but it's very much a consequential thing because he's, from what was reported, he's expected to sign like 200 executive orders. And I remember when he did it in 2017. But I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen today, but he's expected to declare a state of national emergency when it comes to immigration. That's going to open up a lot of funds to, do what he will with. But I mean, he has so many priorities that might happen today, but they'll at least happen tomorrow, I believe. He's going to declare the national emergency. He's going to redefine the role of the military and how it should be prioritizing the border. I think he might have to, in order to deploy the troops, I think he might have to declare or invoke the Insurrection Act. I don't know because the military has a very limited role when they're on soil.
So I just get a lot of news alerts, and this morning, I mean, it was just gone. But Wall Street Journal said Trump is set to. This was kind of their headline or whatever. Trump is set to be sworn in as 47th president. He will move to end birthright citizenship and send troops to the border. Sending troops to the border for sure. Like, I think we all expected that. Ending birthright citizenship is what they talked about, but I'm just like, how does that even work? Like, that's not like.
He's going to try to make the argument, but we've already had Supreme Court cases that have clarified this. He's trying to latch on to a phrase in the 14th Amendment. It says the officials focused on the phrase in the amendment subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That line, and you can go back and read the debates on the 14th Amendment. It's been clarified by senators of both parties back then. And they said subject to the jurisdiction thereof is somebody who's born in the United States and subject to the legal
Whose
the
child is
laws
that?
of the land. No idea. Oh, that might be Vance. Oh, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's about to do his swearing in.
We got a copyright strike, by the way. Whatever.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's whatever.
Is it because of the audio? It didn't happen until we did the audio.